All right, we got Brian Graham. A lot of hats he's worn. Missouri state champion,
Yep.
All American, Greco National Team guy,
Yep.
Greco National Team coach. Also has some of the funniest stories in Missouri wrestling, but I'm not sure that all of those are okay for the general consumption here. But it's all right. So
Yeah. I got some stories. Some are things we can share with everybody, and some aren't. But definitely, always like to have a good time everywhere we're at, and make memories. Usually, So, but they're all legal, So
yeah, yeah. All right, I want to talk about this first because I think you have kind of a interesting wrestling journey. I know it's going to be hard to summarize, but if you were to summarize your wrestling journey from being a kid to where you ended up, how would you summarize that?
Well, starting off, I have a twin brother. I think most people know that. And we started. I think we were 5, and you couldn't go to state our first year. We were just too young. Didn't have rookie state then. That was like '95. My second year, every weekend we'd wrestle each other in the finals. My brother and I. We were 2. We were only 45 pounds. So it's like bumping up 5 pounds was huge. So the following year, every weekend, we'd wrestle each other in finals of the tournaments and stuff. And then we ended up wrestling each other in the state finals. And something I always bring up to Eric, even though it's like 20 years ago, I never lost to him. Every wrestle in the finals, and every weekend I'd beat him. It'd always be a close match. But for some reason, I would just out edge him just a little bit. And I don't know, like, why. And he was so pissed. And my parents would say, "Don't bring that in." Like after the tournament, don't talk about it. Like, don't bring it up to your brother. And we're both ornery. I'd be like, I beat Eric, blah blah. But yeah, we ended up wrestling the state championship, and we both had the same singlets. The only thing different was the shoe. We had the same ASIC shoe, but back in the day, they're all pretty basic and plain. But the inside of my shoe was blue and Eric's was green. And so looking at these pictures now, I can't tell us apart. I have to look at the shoe. It's just a little bit by the ankle. You can see the color, the different color of the shoe. So that's how I can tell us apart. But so we started at a young age, and then I didn't start freestyle and Greco till 4th grade, and I learned my lessons just holding on to the leg and getting flipped, and just kept with it. And then we won a couple of titles in youth, and then went to high school for Park Hill. We won it as a team 3 times. My brother and I, we both won state our junior and senior year. Ranked nationally. We went to Fargo. We All-Americaned. I think All-American 3 times. And then I always knew I wanted to keep and continue wrestling at a younger age. I knew I wanted to wrestle Greco. For some reason, I just loved the sport of Greco more than the others.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was fun. We were on the national dual teams and stuff. And then from high school, went to Missouri Valley College and All-American, and I was a national finalist one year against my best friend from high school, Ryan Moyer.
We're going to ask you about that specifically. What was it like getting to the national finals? First of all, you've got experience from wrestling your brother all those years, but then you get the national finals and you get matched up against your high school teammate and friend.
My best friend from high school. That we told each other we're going to wrestle each other in the finals. Like a couple weeks before we were talking, and we said we were going to wrestle each other, and we did, and I was winning, and he caught me in a Peterson, and I knew it was coming. I was trying to defend it, and he caught me and got the best of me, and then he hugged me after the match on the stage. He said, "I love you, brother," and he's never like rubbed it in my face or anything. And I was like pretty like depressed about it. And that losing to Ryan, that match is the reason why I continued on.
Mm-hmm.
If I won the national championship, I may not have wrestled after college, but that one match and the depression that came after it was what pushed me to do something better and strive to a higher level than the national championship and folk style. So after college, I knew I wanted to wrestle, but I didn't know where to go. Minnesota Storm was just starting up with Jordan Home. Jake Fisher just got over there. Julian Gunnels just joined, and I was kind of torn to go there to Minnesota, which they really have a whole lot of guys at point in time, or go to Colorado. And Nate Engel, who you guys already interviewed, he was out in Colorado. So I ended up moving in with Nate, and I would go and train with those Army guys. And then I finally just showed up basically to the training center.
Mm-hmm.
Here, the assistant coach for Greco, and he didn't know who I was. I just got done with folk style. I never like won Fargo or anything. Placed, I think the highest I ever placed was like 5th in Greco at Fargo. So basically, I just showed up to the training center. Hey, I'm ready to wrestle, and they're like, and this store, I just like one of the first days there, they threw me in there with there was Bo Beckman, and there's another guy. They're both ranked like top 5 on the U.S. Greco ladder, and I'm getting my butt handed to me every single day by these guys. And we were just basically wrestling like 20 matches. And remember, this one practice, we're wrestling 20 match, and I am just getting beat. I can't even like fight for more than 5 seconds without getting taken down. And I have Momir and I have the head coach, Frazier at the time, both yelling at him, don't let him up, don't let him up. And I was just, every 5 seconds, I was just getting beat down. And I was crawling to the middle of the mat and getting back up, and he was just knocking me back down. And I just kept coming after him. But I did hit him in one move. I hit him in the over-under, and I threw him in and scored. I'm like, wow, that kind of worked. Because I was always really good at throwing, but it was not like a Greco-style throw. It was just like a folk-style kind of throw.
Yeah.
And I actually learned the throw from Mayhab, double over, salt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the only thing I could score on him with. Well, fast forward a couple months, I ended up leaving the training center. I just felt like the coaching wasn't good for me. We were just wrestling live. I'm so green. I need technique. And
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. When you were out of the OTC, what was like what was the lifestyle like for you out there?
Oh, it was bad. It was rough. So we have practice in the morning. You have a little bit of downtime during the day, and then you have practice like at 3:00 in the afternoon. And I was super, super broke. I had no money. Because from college, I just packed all my stuff in my car and drove out to Colorado and moved in with Nate with like only stuff that fit in my car. That's all I had. And I'd worked youth tournaments. I would officiate to make money. So I made like $400 a month, and 300 of that went to rent for Nate living. So the extra $100 that basically went to pasta and gas. I had no money. And that I did that for about 6 months, and that's the side of the wrestling that senior level people don't really know about, and it's not the glamorous side, but you have to start out somewhere, and you start low, and you're getting beat down by these guys on the ladder, making no money. These guys are all making they're getting stipends, they're traveling, they're getting all their stuff paid for. I have to pay for all my stuff, and I didn't have any money to pay for anything. I just had enough just to live on and make it to practice and go home. With that, just enough gas in my tank, for the following weekend to work that youth tournament and get like $100 or something like that. But it was rough. And then finally, I left Colorado and went to Minnesota Storm, and with coaches there's Dan Chandler. He was working with a bunch of us. We were all green, and he would show us technique and break it down for us. We weren't wrestling as much live as the guys in Colorado because they were all experienced. Had Andy Bezic out there. He doesn't need as much technique as I did, because I'm more green than he is. And, Chandler, we had Polson out there, and we had Mike Hauk, Dave Zuniga, all these Olympians and world medalists. And we wrestled the U.S. Open that year, and I wrestled the same guy. His name was Ben Sanchez. That's who was beating me in the practice. And I wrestled him in for third place at the U.S. Open. And I knew the one move that I hit him in was the salto worked. And he's a bulldog. He just keeps pushing it, pummel. And he's a goer. He doesn't stop. So I was like, if I just keep the match close, and you have to win 2 out of 3 periods at the time, I can catch him in this throw. I was like, I know I can do it at least once. I don't know about twice. So, it was like 10 seconds left in the first period, 0-0 still. I was just fighting like hell to stay in the middle and pummel and not let him score. And he was pushing, and boom, I hit him and double over and threw him out of bounds, and he was shocked. I ended up winning the first period, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. And then I was like, well, that's my game plan. I'm going to stick to it. It worked the first time, And I did the same thing in the second period, and it worked. I was like, oh my gosh, I just beat him. And I'm not on the radar at all, So I ended up getting on the ladder, the Olympic ladder after that, and that's how I kind of started out. That was 2013. And, from there I just started growing, just being a student of the sport, and with the coaches up there in Minnesota. It was great. They broke it down, made it dummy proof for me to learn. Cause I didn't, like I said, I was a folk style guy, really. I did stick Greco freestyle in the summertime, but I never had the experience that some of these other guys did, like Andy Bezic and Jake Fisher. They went to college to wrestle Greco, So I had to do some time, had to make up some time and make up some ground there. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, all that experience. And then I remember you talking about when you were living up in Minnesota and you were living with the other Greco guys. I mean, I guess kind of like you already hit on it a little bit, but people think, oh, that must be so cool just to be able to wrestle for your job. But it's a tough lifestyle. It's a real tough lifestyle. So I was wondering if you could talk about that.
Super tough. Basically, if you're going to be a wrestler and make that your career, you got to be a hustler. You got to do wrestling camps. You got to sell T-shirts. I was on the Olympic Blue from Blue Chip and that sponsorship. After that match in 2013, when I took third and beat Sanchez, I got on the Olympic Blue with Blue Chip, and they made some shirts for me. And that's how I that's how I survived off those T-shirt sales. They paid for my rent up in Minnesota, and I finally got a stipend after that too. So once I started winning, more money started rolling in for me. But it is so rough, where only guys, they when you watch the U.S. Open and stuff, you see the very tip of the iceberg of what actually goes on is competing. 95% of it is training, is having a healthy lifestyle. It's doing other things out of the practice room and practicing, and the day-to-day grind. And that's what's not glamorous, but like 95% of that is just hard work and grueling. Your body hurts every day, cutting weight, and then that 5% is the glory of winning the matches. And that's what all the guys see, and they're like, man, that'd be awesome to wrestle as a living and get paid, But that's the part that guys realize when they start doing it. You know, they come off the street and start training like, nah, that's not for me. You know,
Mm.
because right when I showed up in Colorado, Momir just thought I was just, you know, this happens all the time. Guys just showing up, but they don't stick around. They'll hang out for about a month or two, and then they'll just kind of fade away. And I just kept coming every single day. He's like, okay, well, he's not really on the team, but he's here training with us. And I guess he's like helping my other guys get better because he's like the dummy. Like I was getting thrown around, you know. So I was like
Oh,
body in the room. I felt like till I left and went to Minnesota, and that's when they really put it in your head that hey, you can beat these guys. You know, I was like, yeah, I think I can. Yeah, yeah, it's a rough living. It's a lot easier, and you make a lot more money just working, you know, having a regular job. That's pretty,
so with all that journey, which was long and a lot of twists and turns, what was it like whenever you finally, you know, got your national team status,
yeah.
finishing third? Like, how rewarding was that for you, or what was your feeling? Was it like a relief, or were you just like, ah, yeah, I mean, this is what I was planning for the whole time?
Uh, it was a relief in a sense that I started getting money because when you start winning medal at these tournaments, you start getting paid. And
Mm,
once you got to have money to keep training and keep going. And I just remember I was down to Lake the Ozarks. And this is before I made the U.S. national team, and I like my bank account had like $115 in it. I was like, well, I got enough money to get back to Minnesota for gas money, and then I'll just have to find a job and continue training. And then the next day, Jordan Holm called me. He's like, "Hey, you earned a stipend," and it was only $1,000 a month, but it got me through it, through the month. But yeah, when you start medaling at tournaments, you start getting paid for each tournament, and your stipend goes up. You have more value, and they start paying you more. But once I got on the national team, I was excited because I want to travel and wrestle these guys overseas, and that's what really did. It opened up doors for me to go overseas and start training and competing overseas.
yeah,
It was
that's
an awesome.
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about next. Actually, what is what are a couple of the experiences you had traveling overseas and wrestling? Which again, that's like another part of the payoff from your long journey.
Because that's the free ride. When you start winning, national team, they start paying for trips and stuff. Uh, my first trip I went was to Iran, and there's a little group of us. It was Ryan Mango, Ben Provisor, Matt Linlin, and then Kiki Kelly. She was the Greco team leader. That was my first trip. So unfortunately, I went hurt. The week before was the NYAC. Oh no, it was the Dave Schultz tournament, and I just knocked off the Russian Olympic champ from like '08 and multiple medalist and world champ. I just knocked him off, and I was wrestling this guy from Japan, and I beat him in this duel uh, like a week before this, and I was wrestling him again, and I landed out of bounds weird, and I strained or did something to my hip flexor, so I can barely walk. I didn't even finish the match. I'm like, dang, my first overseas trip, I'm gonna be hurt, and I probably won't even get a go. I was thinking this, but once you go to Iran, it's that thing take spot because you have to have a visa to go there. You just can't fly to Iran. But I ended up going injured, but the trip to Iran was crazy. It was it seemed like you had like grease people's palms to let you do things, and we were just kind of in the background, and you had translator and stuff. They dealt with their thing, but it was funny because it was us three wrestlers, and Mango obviously he's black, and people in Iran never seen a black guy, so they're like, oh my God, there's that guy. And then Kiki Kelly is a woman, and we all treated her normally, just like we would treat a female in the United States. We're treating her the same there in Iran. They don't do that. So they seen a woman with us treating her the same. They thought that was crazy. So everywhere we went was like a traveling circus, you know. Plus, they've never seen Americans either. You know, we're just through the town, you know, going to like went to the Grand Kazar, wherever it's a big marketplace, and we had like 50 people following us everywhere we went, taking pictures, signing stuff, and that was in Tehran. And then we drove like 9 hours to a place is right on the border of Iraq, where you don't want to go, but that's where the tournament was. And I remember we got there, and we're just sitting in the lobby. We had to, you know, we're cutting all day, trying to make weight and stuff. And there's something going on with the rooms. They're saying we don't have rooms. We just drove all this way and don't have a hotel room. And all these kids and wrestling fans are in the hotel lobby, and they're like, "Oh my God, there's Americans!" And they would not stop taking our picture, getting autographs. And I was like, "Security, will you please stop these guys? I'm trying to find somewhere to work out. It's like 10 o'clock at night. We haven't worked out all day. You know, we just traveled 9 hours in a small van through the desert." And it was crazy. I had to tell somebody that protect me from all these fans to quit taking my picture and stuff and leave us alone, you know. But yeah, that was crazy. Just the way the fans reacted to the sport when we got to the arena, and they were just jam packed outside at the gates, and they let all the athletes through. And then once you get in the arena, they just like put them in like a cattle chute, and they like checked everybody for weapons or whatever. And everybody came in. They had all these horns and noise making devices, and the whole arena was packed. And it was like they had hype men run around hyping up the crowd. But unfortunately, I was hurt, so I didn't do very good. And then from there, we went to Croatia. But that was, yeah, I was just real, when I came back home, I was just real down because I went all this way and I wrestled 2 matches. If you lose, you're out, unless the guy that beats you goes to the finals. And I went halfway across the world and lost twice. So I wrestled one each tournament, you know.
But that's an insane experience that, like, you know, there's no other way you would get, and most people are never going to have that. You know what I'm saying? So that's.
I'll never go back there again. You know,
Yeah.
it's such an awesome place. The people there loved us because we're American, and they were so nice. It was a real awesome experience, and once in a lifetime for sure. But but fortunately, I got to go to other places too, and I just I learned my lesson going there. You know, my very first tournament, and I was talking to Bezic. I was like real down, and I was like, man, I went all the way over here and lost. He's like, yeah, that happened to me in my first 2 tournaments. You know, like they put all this stock in you, and they pay for everything, and you go there and you lose. You know, you feel so bad. Like somebody paid thousands of dollars for me to come here and compete, and I just basically wasted their money. You know, that's what I felt. But you got to train and learn lessons that you can't pay for. You know, so
Yeah.
But it was a great experience for sure.
I got a couple more quick hitter questions for you. All right.
Yeah.
And then we can wrap it up. So this is going back in a while, but what is your favorite high school match that you wrestled?
My favorite high school match, and I was listening to you guys with Coach Tuck and Reggie. You know, they said they brought up the Shane A match, and our matchups every time was crazy. There's a few that I bring up in my head, but definitely the Shane A battles. Those were nuts. Because I remember there was one match. It was it was a tri-duel with Blue Springs in Oak Park in Metro Sports Center, so it's televised, and it was that gym, completely packed. It was super hot, And I remember it's just scrambling the whole time. And Reggie's, anyway, that's a different story. But I ended up winning. And I felt like I was about to have a heart attack because it was so hot in the gym. And the whole 6 minutes, I was just scrambling the whole time. And that was, I think I lost to him earlier that year at Lee Summit. I remember in the finals, the scoreboard was a jumbotron, and the main mat was underneath the jumbotron, and I couldn't see the score. And I'm like looking up, trying to see the score, and it's on the side of the jumbotron, but I'm directly underneath it. And I actually cut him when I didn't need to. And I think I tied it up or gave him the lead or something. So I ended up losing that match, and then I beat him at the Winnetonka tournament. But that matches with Nay, and I remember beating Zach Bailey. He beat me since we were little kids, and I beat him at districts. Like the only Missouri wrestler to beat Zach. That was for me, because he's an animal.
Right.
Ended up winning 4 titles, 6 titles, and then Eastside Dominguez. He was another guy from Nebraska, and he was beating me by 7 points, and I came back from the second period and that with like a last minute throw to win. You always have to have a throw in your arsenal. You're going to be losing at one point in time in your career where you just got to throw something out, and you got to work on that in practice. You got to figure out what that throw is going to be, and you got to master it. But those couple matches are what's really staying out in my mind in high school. So
what about just from you went on all the trips and everything? Obviously, I think you were on like probably the best dual teams that Missouri's had, from what I can remember people telling me. But what memories do you have from or what's your favorite memory, I guess, from a summer wrestling trip you went on?
I think it was cadet duels. And, like you said earlier, I'm kind of ornery. I like to have fun. He put us in a hotel room, four dudes in each room, and I always bunked up with Shane Nay, be my brother, and usually Moyer. But I think it was cadet duels in Greeley, Colorado, and we're boxing. And we took the mattress and we flipped it up, covering the windows and the door. We're like having a full-on wrestling and boxing matches, and we're supposed to be in bed sleeping. It's like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It's getting time where we need to have lights out. And Reggie comes down. He heard us being rambunctious and stuff. He's like, "Everybody, get outside!" So we're out by right in the middle. It was like the pool was surrounded by hotel. Because there's just doors outside, and Reggie called us all outside, and he's yelling at us and yelling at us. And I remember Randy Smith was yelling at us, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Get in the pool!" So we all like jumped in the pool, and he just messing with us the whole time. It was fun, like we wrestled, also played hard,
Right.
We always had a good time, but
Mm-hmm.
got the job done whatever we did. We got the job done, but we had fun while we did it. That's for sure.
Well, Jesse, you want to ask him our last question? I don't even know if we should ask you, Scram. There's so many stories, but
That's true.
I really wish you could tell the story from when you were walking home one night in Missouri Valley, but I don't know if that is a YouTube appropriate story. So.
Probably not appropriate for public consumption, but we just always ask everybody to finish with a good wrestling story that like maybe a little weird or something that just stands out to you that's appropriate for public consumption. But got plenty of them, I know. So
I covered a few of them. I feel like one that stands out that's weird. I'll go back to I think it was junior duels, and Reggie hit on this, and I want to clear the air real fast. What Reggie said, he said that I lost to this guy from Illinois. I beat him. Okay, so
Okay.
we actually beat him. I was losing at one point in time. So Reggie brought this up in your all's other podcast. It's the national dual finals for junior Greco, and I'm wrestling this guy. He's actually from like Ukraine, but he's on the Illinois team. And I think he teched Shane. He beat Shane, but Shane was a great Greco wrestler, and he beat Shane. And I was at a different weight class or something. We didn't match up during the pool play because we wrestled Illinois and we smoked them pretty good. And then we wrestled Illinois again in the finals, and it was a tight duel. They came on strong and ready to wrestle, unlike the first time. And so since Shane lost to this guy, I wrestled him. And I'm losing by a couple points, and I go for a front headlock, and he just latches onto my forearm and won't let go with his teeth. I'm like, ref, he's biting me, and they stop it finally, and I'm bleeding. And Reggie's throwing a huge fit. I'm like, what is going on? They're like, no, he put his arm in his mouth, basically what they're saying. And I was losing at this point. I'm like, okay, I'm ready, let's go. And I was so pissed off, and I end up beating this guy, and we won the duel. It wasn't because of me. It was just I was like in the middle somewhere, but we ended up winning the national championship, and that was a great memory. And it was also like midnight when we're wrestling. It was supposed to be the following day, but for some reason they wrestled it all out, and I remember it was midnight when we were wrestling the national championship finals for Greco duels. But yeah, that was one of those kind of crazy. And I want to clear the air, Reggie.
You won. That's the point.
That's right.
By the way,
Did.
Reggie called me during the middle of this, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, he's called me. He called me too. So
you're setting him straight right now.
Yeah.
So, hey, Graham, thanks for talking to us and everything. A lot more. All right, go ahead.
I love your show. Is this the Jesse James show or something?
It's untitled at the time.
Currently not titled. Yes.
Should be a Jesse James show. I love it. I've been listening to all your all's podcasts, and keep it up.
Thanks,
it's
man.
Great.
That's what we do. We want just for our friends to listen to and
That's right.
give people something to do.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Graham. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hope everyone's good and your family's good. All right.
We're good. You guys have a good day.
You too,
man. See you later.